It's constantly updating your Google business listing as much as you're updating your social media page, or as much as you're making updates to your website. As you're coming out with new content, you have a promotion, you're doing a $1 enrollment, update that on that Google business listing. Show Google that you're staying fresh, you're staying relevant, and you're engaging with your audience, and they're going to prioritize you because of that.
This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, hosted by Chrissy Van. Together, we're uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Welcome to a special edition of the ATFW podcast, MarketFit. This quarterly panel provides actionable tools for your fitness business to stay ahead of the game in marketing. On today's episode, get ready to boost your summer and back-to-school engagement as we chat about local SEO strategies, the latest trends on social media, navigating Google Map packs and reviews, and the digital marketing trends that shouldn't be ignored. First, a shout-out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com. Empower your digital presence with AmericanEagle.com. From cutting-edge web development to data-driven digital marketing, AmericanEagle.com delivers measurable results that will accelerate your business forward. Get started with a website and SEO health check. Contact AmericanEagle.com today. Before we get to the podcast, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new episodes weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. I'm your host, Chrissy Van, and this is ATFW. I am joining you all today at AmericanEagle.com studios here in Chicago, and we have a full house panel. Obviously, when it comes to marketing, focusing on the fitness industry today, but what I love is that we have a lot of brains at the table that are from different industries and also the ones where you live and breathe this day to day. So I'm actually going to head around the table here and have you each introduce yourself. So let's start.
Yes, my name is Brian Wirth. I oversee most of the digital marketing coming out of Hungry Howie's Pizza. It's a brand, 50 years, known for its flavor crust.
And then you didn't bring any pizza, but we'll allow you to stay at the table here.
Okay.
That's okay.
Alex Krivanek, SEO team lead here at American Eagle.
And Alex, we're happy to have you because I know that SEO is your space. Tony
Stehn, head of sales for digital marketing here at AmericanEagle.com. Have been in the digital marketing space for about 16 years. Really excited to be on the podcast today and talk about trends of digital marketing, trends of local SEO, and really help define how we can own our local markets within the fitness space.
And last, hardly needs an introduction in the fitness industry. Of course, new chairman of the Health and Fitness Association, but I'll let you take it away, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Smith, President and CEO of Fitness World Canada, and then, just appointed by the board as chairman, so happy to and excited to continue to serve the association, with all of our three pillars of advocacy, research, and education, and just making a difference every day.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to kick things off. Either Alex or Tony can bite into this one. Obviously, a lot of executives in the fitness industry will be familiar with SEO because, let's face it, without it, business would not be thriving. But can you just give us an overview of what is local SEO and why it's so important to fitness businesses?
Yeah, I can kick things off. The way that I look at SEO as a whole, especially in this industry, and something that I feel like is very relevant, is that it truly is the health and fitness plan of your website. I mean, if you stop working out over time, you're going to lose all the results that you've been working so hard for gaining over many weeks, many months, many years. But much like working out, you don't see results overnight. And so the way that we relate that in the world of SEO is you got to work really hard at it. You got to stay on top of the trends. You got to make sure that, any changes that Google is making, or quite frankly, any of the search engines out there are making, you gotta constantly be in the know, make those updates, make those changes, put in the work so that you can see the results over time, maintain those results over time, and really never take your eye off of it.
And Alex, where can fitness businesses specifically optimize their local SEO? What should they be looking at?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is to make sure that, and this is going to sound corny because impressions are something that we talk about a lot in SEO, but it's your first impression when you look for something. So making sure your name of your company, your address, your phone number, your reviews, all those things are listed somewhere within your site. Because if you think about it, when you're looking for a gym, or if you're looking for a coffee shop, or if you're looking for pizza or anything like that, you're typing in near me or something, and the first thing that's going to pop up is probably going to be the closest and the best rated one. So making sure that you include everything that Google's asking for, but everything that's beneficial for your business. So fitness covers so many different areas, like we were talking about. Is it yoga? Is it, just treadmills? Is it a full body workout? Those things. So making sure you have all that content also within your website is going to be huge for your local SEO, to make sure that people can find you as soon as possible, as quick as possible, and that you're one of the top results. And you can possibly pop up in those SERP features, which are those things that you see on the top of the page before you see any sort of ranking or whatnot.
So, Chris, this is an area that you've heavily invested in your own fitness business. So talk to me a little bit about how you've invested in this space and how you've worked with AmericanEagle.com, because obviously since 2020 is when you took over this business and have been on this rapid growth trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, I was, been up there in Canada now for 14 plus years, and certainly transitioned through the pandemic and a bankruptcy to kind of right size and reshape the business into its current image. And then, really through that transition went from a strategy and approach of what I would call an entire marketing staff that at that time was like 12 people, and everything was done internally. And just really, like a lot of things that we did at Fitness World, we just said, how can we reinvent what we're doing? And so a lot of that was, what was our internal marketing team going to look like? And then who were the right, subject matter experts and partners that we could bring in to collaborate with to really do, excellence and everything, and then stay as hyper relevant as possible on all the different moving pieces and trends. And obviously, we're talking a lot about SEO right now. And so really, we do a lot of different things and have done a lot of different things with Tony and the team over time. And it's been fantastic, and certainly has had a measurable difference. And, I'm not shy from it to say, have we tested other groups? And Tony's well aware. Yeah, we have. And then I come back every time, in the sense of we usually only give a group a little subset to kind of play with or whatever. But in terms of the overall value proposition, in terms of the results that are delivered, and then more importantly, the partnership and the collaboration, is there, and it's very strong. And so that's kind of the relationship that we've enjoyed. But yeah, there's a lot of dollars spent, obviously, with, I think, a lot of businesses that are looking at this. I mean, for some context, in the fitness space, typically, at minimum, clubs probably should be spending about 4% of revenue. If they're really trying to be in growth mode, it's probably closer to 7%. And if they're a new facility in their first kind of 2 years of operation, including pre-sale, you'll typically see more, closer to 10%. And again, the lion's share of that revenue is dedicated to, digital / SEO and all that work. And to Tony's point, I use similar analogies where it's like, if we could all go back and buy the current stock, right, NVIDIA, and you could go back and buy it at $10 a share, would you? If you look at it today, you bet you would, right? If you would have bought Google at $10 a share, what would that be worth today when it was at $10 a share? And Apple and all the rest, right? And again, to Tony's point of the analogy of the fitness analogy of working out, I find SEO is very similar in that compounding nature of that work, and you just have to be really consistent with it in terms of what you do and how you do it. And again, even from an SEO perspective, in our business, we use an individual provider that, that's what they specialize in and that's what they focus in. And then again, certainly partner with American Eagle and a whole bunch of stuff.
How have you deployed specific strategies in this space?
Oh, with local SEO, it's really evolved since working with American Eagle. Prior to that, Tony, what were we looking at? Page 5, did you say?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to think about where you guys were and how quickly, which is actually an anomaly to SEO, because things don't typically happen very fast. And that's probably one of the biggest stigmas about SEO, is there's a lot of gray area of, is it working, is it not? But in Hungry Howie's space, they have 530 locations, something around there.
Yeah, 520. So,
and they were ranking on page 5, closer to page 6, for 2 very important keywords, pizza delivery and pizza near me. And both of those search terms have a competitive score of about 100, which means that it's going to be really difficult to move up in the rankings for these 2 search terms. And based on building out a very specific strategy within Google Business Listings, doing all of the things that Alex had mentioned in terms of creating consistent content on all their Google Business Listings, making sure the data is accurate across not just Google, but a lot of different directories and listing sites, adding in primary categories, secondary categories, updating images. All of those things started to build this trust factor with Google immediately. And within about 60 to 70 days, we saw Hungry Howie's rank ranking go from 58 to 8, which is page 1. And it had a significant impact on traffic, on sales. And yeah, I think we're continuing to move in the right direction.
Yes, we are. So we're very happy with our relationship right now with AmericanEagle.com. We had that pre-workout package, right? That's we were given. So that quick bump. So yeah, like Tony said, it's been some tremendous growth, especially in such a competitive industry with pizza on key terms like, as you said, delivery, pizza near me. So from a local SEO standpoint, just kind of piggybacking off what they both said, but Google is the Goliath. We all know that. So if they have a field, fill it out. Fill out anything you can do, from hours of operation to obviously your address, but the attributes, the categories. Again, update with photos, reviews. Make sure you respond to all the reviews with, again, not just a thumbs up, but quality reviews. Mention again, hey, thank you for enjoying the pizza. Now try this product. You can, mix similarities within the fitness industry, and then utilize their social posting tool. I think we all remember Google Plus. That's actually no longer here anymore.
It went. It was like a big hype for a hot minute.
Forgot about that one.
I did.
Still want to
said it. It's a relic.
They want to be in that social positioning. So with their posting tool onto the profiles, they really want you to utilize that. Again, with that, it shows that you are utilizing Google on a daily basis, weekly basis. So making sure you're putting content out there is going to help local SEO. And with that, again, just content in general on the website, that website blogs, talking about how you're collaborating with the local sports teams, schools, spotlighting your employees or maybe members of the gym that are relevant within the industry or within the community. Google's going to take as signals and help, again, elevate you in those rankings. And then finally, backlinking. That's something that our team at Fish PR does a tremendous job at. Anytime we have an article going out, we always make sure that backlinks are coming to our website. That's going to just help, again, organically grow your rankings.
I'm just curious, to rank on page 5 or 6, why was that? Was it just not a priority at the time? Like, why did you decide all of a sudden this was important?
We had focused more on a national level to help build the website and didn't take into consideration the importance of local at that time. As people started surpassing us at that local level, we needed a fix very quickly. And that's where, obviously, we made introductions with the AmericanEagle.com team, and it changed the game for us. Because we've had a heavy focus on digital, paid advertising, but I think neglected, again, at that local level to help build and boost organically the rankings for these stores. So, again, we've seen tremendous sales growth due to this.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, especially for those search terms. If you're in a local area, those are definitely key. We're going to take a brief pause here to thank our sponsor, AmericanEagle.com. Invest in digital marketing strategies that actually work and maximize engagement with your members. Rely on the team at AmericanEagle.com to drive real results for your business. Contact AmericanEagle.com today to get started. Tony, one of the questions that came actually from an individual on the marketing side in the fitness industry was re Google Map Packs. There's been a bunch of changes that have taken place there. So how did they prioritize the map and business listings over regular search results? And what are some of the changes in that space?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of that change was driven by user behavior and how many searches are being done on mobile devices. When people are searching on mobile, they're generally looking for something that's nearby. And so it just made sense to start serving up those map listings higher to serve up the information that users are looking for to give them that better experience. And so that's one of the key reasons why we've made such a big push on really identifying what some of those key differentiators are that are going to help you increase that ranking within that map section. If you're not in the top 3 of that map pack, you're probably not going to be clicked on very often, because few people will actually click on the show more option below that, which will expand that map pack. So if you are having a tough time getting in that top 3 within your own backyard, there's other ways to help supplement those efforts through paid. Google has the map buy now, where you can actually incorporate that map buy, sort of ad placement within your overall paid ad strategy on Google. And it just gives you an opportunity to start ranking in either the 1 or 2 sponsored sections of that map pack in your local market if you're not getting there organically. But how do you get there organically? It's everything that Brian had just mentioned. It's constantly updating your Google business listing as much as you're updating your social media page, or as much as you're making updates to your website. As you're coming out with new content, you have a promotion, you're doing a $1 enrollment, update that on that Google business listing. Show Google that you're staying fresh, you're staying relevant, and you're engaging with your audience, and they're going to prioritize you because of that.
Alex, I could see your wheels turning there.
Yeah, so I was going to mention two things real quick. So piggybacking off of what Tony was saying. So if you're not in the top 3, your click-through rate, or CTR as we call it, goes down from about 10% to about 5%. So being in that top 3 is huge. If you're in a featured snippet or a map pack, it can go up to 35 to 40%. That means 40% of people are going to click on that right away, compared to less than 10% if you go below the bottom 3. So that's a huge thing there. Another thing, and this seems very simple, I'm not giving out any advice that no one doesn't know, but Google's main purpose is to serve the user the best experience with the question they asked. So how do we do that? Just like Tony's saying, and everyone else here has been saying, have to have content updated frequently, constantly, giving them what's going on, promotions, if we're moving addresses, if we're changing hours, anything like that. But staying active within users is what Google wants to see, and that's where the trend is going with, again, social, within just true interactions with reviews, those type of things. Google wants to know that customers like what you're doing, customers like you, and then you're interacting with them back, because then Google sees that that's a positive interaction, and that's their main goal. So that's something that I'm always striving and pushing clients and whatnot for, is interact, continue to talk to them, make sure that you're listening to reviews, make sure you're updating pages and content as much as possible. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses maybe aren't seeing in the local areas, just because they're not aware of those type of things.
Yeah, fair enough. And obviously, both of you have highlighted responding to reviews. Just quickly here, Chris, not all reviews are always positive. So do you have a specific strategy, or is it more case-by-case basis if it's maybe something that's not favorable or needs to be addressed?
Yeah, we're not using any automation to do what I would call, canned answers or canned responses, which, again, maybe down the road, leveraging AI, that could be some stuff that may or may not take place based on whatever rules and parameters that, you may or may not put in place. But we do provide kind of framework to how we want to respond to customer concerns. And then there's certainly things that are elevated that is going to be more of like our internal, what I would call even the marketing team / myself, potentially PR group, may decide to answer based on the delicateness of a particular situation. So yeah, we definitely, kind of take that approach. So one thing I would add to this other conversation around the mapping and the Google and this and that is, while I appreciate his thoughts around Google, I have a different opinion slightly, which is to say they're a for-profit organization. And they're all constantly looking for how do we diversify ourselves in the market and create new products and services to continue to grow our revenue. So as much as we want to say, well, it's about meeting, the public and helping better serve them, they're also looking for how to diversify their revenue and create new products and services where they can continue to charge more money as a publicly traded company, because that's ultimately who they're serving, right? Is their stakeholders, which are counting on that stock to continue to move. Now, is it going to be a good service? I don't know. I mean, like within this area, I'd love to try their pizza. I'm not from the Detroit area, but I'm feeling like I need to go now because this crust sounds incredible.
Right? It's always about the crust. Let's be real.
I mean, he talked about the crust, and I'm like, I'm kind of a crust guy.
And he even said it's not a long flight. I'm like, you could have definitely packed a pizza. But
I know. I feel maybe I'm going to divert now on my flight home. I might just
happy to have
Detroit.
you. Yeah, come on by. We'll get pizza.
Give me a pizza. But anyway, I think it's not to say it's not going to help serve, but again, top 3, you can pay to be there, so on and so on and so on. So again, I think constantly they're almost working against the own algorithm of SEO, which is the organic stuff, back to we want you to pay, which I can't argue with. That's their business model, right? Like they're a for-profit organization, which I appreciate and respect, and they're great partners of ours too, right? We're happy to partner with them and appreciate all the assistance we get in terms of driving our business. But yeah, anyway, I just would add that. I know it's going a little backwards to go forwards, but I just wanted to add that that's also the lens I tend to look at things through.
No, and that's fair. The benchmark keeps moving for a reason, because if you could just hack it, then they wouldn't be making any money. So it's fair to highlight. Also, I will say that pizza is an excellent eat the night before leg day item. Just important to highlight. Pizza power.
I think that's a great piece. SEO team, we add that on to
Pizza before leg day?
Oh, yeah.
You eat pizza before you do leg?
Yeah,
Not all
this
the
is
time,
a
but if
new
I've had a pizza,
now we're
have
talking
you
about-
not experienced pizza power?
No.
Oh,
every day.
see, you know.
I mean, we want to be transparent. My first job was at Round Table Pizza.
Really?
Yeah, I was really proud that by the end of the first month, I was head of the pizza line. So I was like,
You were head of
officially in charge.
sauce?
Oh yeah, I was the saucer. Boom, tick it off. Boom, get it down the line. Like, let's go. Things got to move, right? I mean, I took a lot of pride in that job.
That's
Did
fair.
you do leg day every day then?
No, but I got to
According
the
to
point.
Chrissy, it's-
The fun fact about this is I could eat a large pizza on my 10-minute break. That's your fun fact when I worked at pizza. So,
Put in some pizza down right
That's
there.
a
Yeah.
lot.
Wow.
Quick.
well, I mean, take a look at me. I'm not a small guy, right? I mean, I got to feed the beast. So, I mean, I was hungry.
I feel like I could probably also eat a large pizza in 10 minutes.
Challenge accepted.
Like, not American large.
Okay, we're
let's
All right, come to
let's just
Detroit.
say
I mean,
Canada.
we've definitely taken a turn here.
Like,
Okay,
that's the beauty
But,
of
like,
podcasting. I
no,
love
no, no.
these
I mean, I'm in.
left
Like, sounds like we're going to Detroit.
I know a guy. Yeah, we could definitely set something up.
All right, this is happening.
I'm so
6
game.
large pizzas coming in.
Tony, are you coming?
I'm in. You
Good.
should ask Brian. I've had 2 opportunities to crush like 7 different types of pizza.
And he does not stop. The guy just eats. So yeah, when he has the pizza, I watched him
That's right.
devour quite a bit.
That's right.
Nice.
The best part is everyone's going to be like, wasn't this the fitness industry? And we're all like, pizza.
No,
but,
we gotta-
you know,
Fitness people eat pizza. Let's
Yeah.
make no mistake. And the reason we can eat pizza is because we work out.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't change who
Circle
we are,
of
what we
life
do.
here, folks.
That's right.
Yep,
That's right.
yep.
Hey, back to your review question though. I did want to call out one thing. I think it is important. One thing that Chris had mentioned was, we manually respond to reviews. We don't necessarily leverage AI today, or we don't have an automatic response. And I think that is important. Obviously, we'll probably get there very soon with all of the changes and advancements with AI, and there's more to come on that here in a little bit. But I do want to just reiterate how important it is to think about the keywords that you're using in your responses.
Right.
So if somebody is having a good or bad experience and they're writing a review on Google and it's about the trainer of their Group X class, or it's about, something that went wrong in the gym, it's really critical to incorporate other keywords that are related to the search terms that you actually want to rank for. Obviously spinning it into a positive, but making sure that those search terms are being incorporated is going to help Google pick up on the fact that you guys offer those types of amenities or those types of services.
Smart. I feel like that's something not everyone would necessarily think of. Sometimes when people are responding to reviews, it can be very impulsive because it gets emotional.
You should wait
because it's a
24 hours
business.
and take a deep breath. And
I've
do a
seen
leg
everyone's
workout.
seen a thread where you're like, oh boy, they've
Yeah.
responded again. Like,
I mean, we'll go to the extent where, like, again, let's just say it's Tony. Tony sends in a concern, a complaint, whatever it might be. We're actually probably going to reach out to Tony via phone, right? Or text him and say, hey, we saw that you put a review online. We'd like to resolve the situation. Is there a good time for us to connect on phone? Especially if it's either, a mediocre / bad review, right? Like, we want to get personal and really figure out how do we fix this situation. Then from there, then getting Tony to, even in some cases, remove the review or provide a new one, right? To say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you guys took care of me. You made a bad situation much, much better. Greatly appreciated. And again, that, collective kind of back and forth.
That's
and
it.
where those reviews come in and back to the power of Google. I mean, we're very proud of the fact that we have like the highest Google ranking of any fitness clubs in our marketplace. And we work for that, right? We're asking our consumers to give us feedback. We're not just waiting for feedback. We know if people are loving the business, loving the brand, we're asking them, hey, would you mind doing a review? And they're often going to use, I really love my personal trainer. I really enjoy the club. Its amenities, the hours of operate, like all the things that are already buzzing, people naturally are using those words anyhow. And so that all kind of carries over. So it's not only just responding to reviews, we stoke the fire. We're asking for them. So when customers come in, hey, would you mind? And hey, it seems like you're really loving your personal training. Would you mind giving a review? And that's part of how we drive our, overall Google score to be kind of where it is.
I would agree completely. With same thing. Both are huge points. And for us in the lobby, leave us a review. After an online order, leave us a review. Get those rankings up there. Getting more reviews obviously will increase ranking.
at the end of the day, they're doing some of your SEO work for you. So even better, they're employees and they don't even know it. The conversation continues, but first, a quick thank you to our sponsor. Invest in your digital marketing strategy today with AmericanEagle.com's expert marketing solutions. Our comprehensive services in SEO, email marketing, social media, and more will drive growth and enhance member engagement. Visit us at AmericanEagle.com. Well, transitioning to social media, obviously that's a constantly evolving space. And Chris, kind of starting off with you, I know you don't directly work in marketing, but you're very involved with your marketing team. And we are highlighting the summer season right now, which typically can have a little bit less engagement from members. So how do social media strategies pivot throughout the summer months, and how important is it to stay engaged with your audience?
Again, my marketing team led by Hannah Unger, and she does a phenomenal job, and super appreciative of all the work that she does with her team to kind of lead all things from a marketing initiative perspective. Yeah, I think we're definitely kind of looking, we have an annual plan, we're looking at that, but then we're flexing and adjusting as needed from an annual basis or seasonality perspective. We've had conversations on other topics, but again, sociographic, psychographic, demographic, right? So even from an SEO perspective, like who am I serving, which area are we talking about, what neighborhood, what seasonality? So again, for me in Vancouver, BC versus say here what's going on in Chicago, it's not all things are the same. It's like, well, no, they're both in North America. Summer is still summer. It's not the same. This is not apples to apples, right? Like, again, people here are going to be like, I'm going to go hang out by the East Bank Club and lay at the pool all day, whereas people in Vancouver are like, I'm going to go to the mountain and go hiking today. I mean, it's just a very different kind of approach. And so that's what we try to do. We try to lean into what are the activities that I would say the 35 and younger age population especially are kind of getting after, and what are kind of their focuses and goals. Because if you're over 35, you still wish you weren't. And you wish, I'm 49. And so you wish like, hey, I'm still 35 and doing all those things I could do when I was younger. I could still dunk a basketball when I was 35. I'm telling you now, I'm not dunking basketballs anymore when I go play hoops. It ain't happening. I wish. I just look up at the rim now. I'm like, oh.
I got a hoop that lowers.
Oh, you can bring it down
Yep.
an 8-foot hoop. I'd dominate an 8-foot hoop. I'd be like Shaq. But anyhow, yeah, I think that we're just trying to lean into like, what are the activities? What are people doing? How can we celebrate that? So whether that be post on, healthy eating and, summer recipes and how we can help kind of bridge the gap from a macronutrient side of the nutrition side to outdoor workouts and what can you do there and what are some things you can do in the parks. And, we're not just trying to bring everyone indoors necessarily as much as just kind of meet people where they're at, which is, again, at that time of the year, it's people are eating outside more, they're exercising outside more. So we're just trying to keep people as active as possible because that's really what we're about, right, is just trying to help people lead a healthy and fit lifestyle.
For yourself with Hungry Howies, what type of strategies have you deployed in the social media marketplace? Obviously, highlighting different than the fitness industry, but regardless, you're hyper local and relevant to the communities that you serve.
Yeah, similar to what Chris was speaking on is relevancy to the user. That's a very important part of the strategy, as well as influencers. We really kind of like to bring them into the fold. It was, I think, a conference in March I went to. Michael Stelzner from Social Media Examiner was speaking on reach within the Meta news feed. And they're actually going to be decreasing. They already have decreased the reach of the brand voice, brand pages. And they're replacing it now with resharing and unconnected content, what they call it. Unconnected being, again, people that you don't personally follow or aren't within your connection. So this unconnected content is all about whatever the AI deems is relevant to that user within their news feed. So finding content like that and utilizing influencers to reshare their content is how we're kind of bridging that area from the content that we need to fill now from the loss of the reach from our brand pages. So influencers using strategies with collaborations of new store openings, new equipment for, say, the fitness area. For us, it'd be more like limited time offers, giveaways. Things of that nature is how we've really kind of used influencers. And then again, making sure that influencer, though, just isn't just anybody. They have some sort of skin within the industry. They understand the brand itself. And then their users that follow their page have high engagement. Because again, you don't want to just go to someone that has full of bots or something like that. They just pull a number out. So making sure that high engagement is there so that both channels are getting increased reach.
I mean, what I would also just comment, at least so it's worked well for us in the fitness space, and different people have different approaches, but we only use local influencers.
Yes. So
everyone is hyper local. They're all based either in Western Canada and then as much as possible hyper local, meaning British Columbia. And so back to, how relevant are they? And then we also try to have influencers that basically cross all lines, right? So we want to be speaking to all the different personas that we're kind of thinking about, that we want to attract to the business, so that as people are seeing something from us, right, that we want them to understand that we are an inclusive space. We're open for everyone. We'll meet the member where they're at, regardless of what fitness journey they're on or what their background is. So that's also kind of part of the strategy there on the influencer. And, we're not trying to fill like one particular bucket. And then we ask them to create relevant content back to like, what's that relevancy? So for us, what we find our members are most engaged in are some of the videos where it's like we're explaining. Just recently we did, here's how you do a deltoid raise. Like, you want to do shoulder raises, this is how you do them. So we're teaching how to do movement on really, specific and explicit movements. So, because that seems to be what people are most interested in, right? It's like, I'm doing this and I like this exercise, but am I doing it perfect? Like, am I doing it right? So again, that's that. I know it sounds like cliche of meeting members where they're at, but again, just keep serving up. What are they actually looking for? What is adding value to their program? What is making them be the facility of choice for them? And so that's kind of how we think about it.
Yeah, and I know for influencers, for yourself, Fitness World uses a lot of micro influencers as well. So how has that been effective? Yeah,
I think, again, back to those personas, and I think it just definitely communicates what we want to communicate. I mean, one of our core values is being inclusive. And so, as a company, so that's certainly what we want to broadcast out on a larger message in terms of who we are and what we do. And I think that that's definitely helped there. And again, Vancouver is an incredibly diverse place as well. And so making sure that we're representing, even through our influencers, all the sociographic kind of differences in our marketplace is also important because we serve so many different communities.
Well, and on the micro-influencer note, I think it's such a smart strategy because people that consume social media now, the big influencers, some of them to a degree, it's like the soul is sold. And I get it's also how they make their money. But if you are somebody that's connected with them from a consumer of social media perspective, you start to see it being a little bit disingenuous if they're selling you something constantly all the time, every day. Whereas if there's somebody that has a smaller following but engaged, and I know they love fitness, and then they're the one speaking to your brand, I'll actually feel as though that's more genuine and real versus those others where I'm like, oh, I follow this person and one day they're selling me cereal and the next day they're selling me push-ups. Like, I just don't know which way they're going with it. And you do see that a lot in the space. On the topic of social media, Tony, what are some of the trends that you're seeing? Because this is a space, I mean, to your point, as you were saying earlier, Brian, Meta's very pay to play. It's very difficult to get organic reach. Obviously, in the States, lots of talk about TikTok. Will it, won't it be banned? So where do people invest their time? So what are kind of the biggest trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think as far as trends go, it really is all about making sure that you're putting relevant content in front of the right audiences. And so as technology has afforded us to become more and more lazy when it comes time to consuming content and getting, information that we care most about, that's how social media has evolved as well. I mean, for business, it's a little bit more difficult because through organic, again, they're limiting the content that you're not engaging with for a reason. You're not engaging with it. The more you do engage with it, the more of that same content or similar content you're going to see, which as an end user you love because you have to do less work to find what you're looking for. When it comes to these trends, though, and TikTok being a big one, as well as a big controversy and question mark, the trend of video content is never going to go away. Short form videos, whether they're YouTube Shorts, whether it is on TikTok, whether it is leveraging, Meta's video platform as well, is going to be really important. But one thing that Chris said that I can't state enough is it's really about making your audience feel like they are in the moment with whatever that post is that you've actually shared. It needs to be relatable. Meta right now is they've been using these types of campaigns for a while now, but Advantage Plus campaigns is a paid strategy within Meta. And they really recommend creating 30 different types of videos that can be used within your campaigns that speak to all kinds of different audiences. So I'll talk about a retail brand for a second. On shoes. They're coming out with a new slip-on version. And you might think that that's just for leaving your house and taking out the garbage. But what they did, what On did, was they created 5 different types of content that speak to 5 different audiences. One was a pregnant woman who needed to be on the go and slipped on her shoes to get out the door because she couldn't really bend over that easily to get her shoes on and tie them. The next was somebody going out to walk their dog. That's a different persona. The other one was it was a soccer mom who was literally running out the door, running late to a soccer game, and had 4 kids in the car that she had to get out to and take to the game. So what they did was they used the same form of video, but it just slightly tweaking the background and the actual scene spoke to 4 or 5 different audiences. And that's going to get those ads in front of a lot more people. It's going to have a way more effectiveness because now you're relating to that specific scenario and buying that product. And I think there's a lot of obviously correlations with fitness as well. I mean, you guys have so many different amenities at Fitness World, whether it's the recovery package, whether it's personal training, whether it's Group X, whether it's small group training, the list goes on, health programs or health plans. All of those different amenities that you guys offer speak to different audiences. And honestly, even one amenity like recovery or personal training can speak to 4 different types of people. So let's make sure that the content we're producing covers that entire landscape.
Yeah, it's leaving no card on the table if it's somebody that might use it. On the note of trends, Facebook, dead or not?
Well, to Chris's point of trying to attract 35 and under, I guess one could consider it dead. On the other note, there's definitely a large demographic that still uses Facebook, but I'm not one of them.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I do think, certainly from a domestic perspective, if I'm looking at the international landscape of the fitness space from, again, that HFA lens, but North America, right, we're seeing a huge movement right now that continues to grow exponentially with medical insurance, funded memberships. And so that subsidizing of gym memberships is, continuing to bring people forward in a massive way. And so again, they are on Facebook. So these groups that are basically, and again, it used to be, I would say, it was almost more of like a senior population that would, tap into these. Now it isn't, but it is that group that is, I would say, certainly pays for medical insurance. Medical insurance is important to them. And so you say, well, who is that? 30 and up, probably, right? Where they start to think about, hey, what if something bad happens? I mean, when you're younger, it's like, you're invincible. Yeah, nothing can happen to me. It's like, should I jump off this rock into a river? Why not? Right?
I mean, I still act like I'm invincible, but that's okay.
I think that's got to be 40. It's not 30. Like I just turned 40, and the first time of my life, I just started thinking about that like last week.
You just did.
Yeah.
We look at life differently, all right? Different strokes for
Chris
different
is like,
folks.
get your insurance.
That's a TV show you guys might have heard of because you might have seen it. If you go on like Nickelodeon, I think it plays late at night. But anyway, it's a little phrase as well. But anyhow, I don't think it's completely, certainly dead.
No.
I think it'll transform, right? So it's an opportunity for them as a business to evolve and grow. And I think if anything, if we kind of step back from what has Meta done, formerly Facebook, right, over the last, since inception, it's evolved. So hard for me to believe that the team over there doesn't have a strategic plan around where do we go next and how do we continue to pivot and move forward.
They're celebrating 20 years today.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
Today?
20 years
No, not
on the
today.
day.
Sorry, this year, not today.
I was like,
I called
what
it
are
birthday.
the
I wished him
odds?
happy birthday.
You did.
You're like, I'm going to have a cake later.
Did Mark hit you back? Zuckerberg hit you back?
Not
Like, thank
today.
you. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, Facebook, I don't think, I agree. I don't believe it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think they have like over 2 billion daily users. So with that and their plethora of networks, WhatsApp and Messenger and Instagram, I think Facebook can continue to grow.
Just on that note of content and the verticals, how important is it to diversify between platforms?
It's a yes, you should be mixing it up, and there's no reason not to. What we're saying in regards to these trends, people might be asking, well, gosh, how much money do I got to invest in creating all this video content now, right? Because in order to maintain a really successful TikTok page, best practice is to be posting 3 times a day, and that's all video content. The key is it doesn't have to be like professionally filmed video. It doesn't have to be edited. It doesn't have to be this high quality, high fidelity video. It can be things that look more like user-generated content or potentially is user-generated content. When you're creating this content, you already have the library of assets. Define what that content calendar should be over the course of the month, the quarter, or the year, and then just separate out when you're going to post that content on the different platforms. I don't have to post the same video because I can on all 3 platforms at the same time on the same day. Mix it up, diversify it, and your audience that's on YouTube is generally going to be different than your audience on TikTok. So if you do end up posting on the same day, it's fine, but you can also spread it out.
Well, to your point, would you say polished or more UGC versions the way to go?
More UGC.
Yeah.
People want to be relatable. They want the authenticity of the content, and I think it actually performs a lot better.
No, I agree. Especially for that under 35 subset, they don't want something that feels like an ad in any capacity. A quick thank you to our sponsor. Outperform your competition with the digital marketing strategy from AmericanEagle.com. Contact AmericanEagle.com, a digital agency, to explore how a local SEO strategy, email marketing program, and social media strategy can drive real results for your business. Well, speaking to artificial intelligence, we touched on it a little bit, but how much is it changing and evolving digital marketing strategies?
But Tony was just mentioning it as far as building out content. Yeah, you can seamlessly change and update a video to meet any of those profiles, any of those personas fairly quickly. So that's one way I know we've utilized it. Building out strategies is another. I mean, with, again, generative AI, you can make a lot of changes to a visual very quickly. And then obviously with the copyright thing, you guys have done a lot, or we're talking in the works of doing more with you guys through AI generative.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AI's come a long way in a year and a half. It was a hot topic. It still is a hot topic. I don't think it will replace the human element per se. Definitely not for the short term. But we use AI wherever we can to help kickstart ideas, to help with creative, and also to do things at scale. One example recently with a high-end retailer that we work with has 600 locations. When they replatformed their site, these location pages completely fell off the face of Google. They weren't indexed whatsoever, and it's because they were all written the exact same way. They had duplicate content across 600 pages with the exception of the location itself. And so we actually leveraged AI to go in. We trained a bot. We told it exactly what to include in terms of keyword research that was performed by the SEO team. We had it pull data from 6 different resources, and it wrote 3 different variations of custom content for 600 locations in a matter of hours. So then we ran that against ChatGPT as well as Claude to just make sure that we're not dealing with any sort of duplicate content or compliance issues. And then our copywriting team would review every one of those pages to make sure that it still had that human element and really was relevant to the audience that we were speaking to. This saved this organization tens of thousands of dollars because we were able to write content, custom content for 600 location pages in a few hours instead of, probably 2 months.
Alex, I see the wheels again.
Definitely agree with Tony on everything there. AI, it makes mistakes sometimes too, where there's been court cases where lawyers, I don't know why they did this, but they used ChatGPT or AI to actually try to make a case and it was wrong. So there's been plenty of instances of that. But I think AI, and I'm a big baseball fan, used to play, but it's in T-ball stages right now. Okay, we're hitting off the tee. It's learning itself. We're not even into coach pitch or kid pitch or to high school or to college, minors, majors. We're not there yet. It is just learning how to hit the ball. So it's still growing. It's going to continue to grow. But Google is always going to look at the human element, and it does recognize and does know the difference between AI-generated content and human-written content and the way that it is written. It can tell the difference still. But I do 100% agree. It's growing. It's an amazing tool. It's something you have to be very cautious and careful of when you're looking at any content. But exactly like we do here, we use it a lot to help with kind of that start off of content or ideation of some things. But we have to look it over with our content team. SEO looks it over, provides it with a lot of keywords and whatnot. But yeah, we're in T-ball stages right now, but it will be in the majors at some point.
Yeah, I mean, rapidly evolving space. When it comes to digital marketing strategies, what have been the biggest shifts this year?
Obviously, always looking at first-party data. With things going cookieless, data is even more critically important. So using that data to, again, create those personas, create those profiles, to build upon that, to customize that content that's going out to make sure it's relevant. So, we use first-party data and layered on with third-party data, again, to create and always update different profiles.
What I would just even add to that, maybe, and even in the AI conversation, right? So if you do the correct prompting and you're on a platform that can serve this, right? But I can say, go scrape Google. And again, I'm not a prompt engineer, so, if someone's going to go type this explicitly, and I don't guarantee the results in any way, shape, or form. However, if I said, go scrape Google for the top 10 fitness facilities in this, specific zip code, I want to know all the tags, meta tags, whatever. I want to know all the keywords that they're ranking on and where they rank from an SEO perspective. And then I want you then to take that information and build it into a table for review. Boom, does it. Then I say, okay, next prompt, take the following information and create a marketing strategy and plan for Fitness World Canada on explicitly what you recommend I do. Now, again, is it going to make a mistake? Maybe. So you got to look at it and check it, whatever. But back to my opinion, will this eliminate? Yes, this is going to eliminate jobs. The time that it would take a human to go do all that work is a lot of work, right? So again, or maybe it's not necessarily eliminating jobs, but it's the effectiveness and efficiencies that people are going to imply or be able to work on other things or take things to a whole nother level that maybe they couldn't get to because now they're working exponentially faster at what you can do. And again, to me, that's the power that people don't understand. And I do agree 100%, we are super early days. And if anything, that's what scares the what out of me, because it's incredibly powerful right now, right? In terms of what it can actually do. And it is for sure in terms of, I'm spending a lot of time in terms of research and education and constantly reading all these different articles and videos and people speaking about it and, people that are experts in the field. And to me, it's wow, this is just mind blowing in terms of the implications that this could have, but I'm excited, right? And it's got me very curious in learning mode again, in terms of, wow, this is something really cool and it can help evolve all of our lives and make things, certainly different.
Yeah, it's definitely going to impact the way that people go about their day-to-day. And before it eliminates people's jobs potentially, it'll certainly change the day-to-day, right? I was literally on a call last night with our head of copywriting. We were reviewing content for a client, and he specifically said one of the biggest challenges or things that he's focused on right now is how to train his team to balance the writing of creative from start to finish and also editing AI. It's how do you appropriately and effectively edit AI written content to make sure that it's going to be picked up by a big change that happened on Google 3 or 4 weeks ago. If you've all noticed, when you ask Google a question, there's a snippet right at the top that tells you exactly what you're asking for and is generated by AI. So we have to now change the way that we're writing content to be able to speak in terms that is going to potentially give you that chance to rank in that snippet.
Yeah, and that's something that about 8 years ago, featured snippets, so what Tony's talking about here, those top ones, they went away about 8 years ago. It went from about 80 to 90% of searches would have them to about 10%, and now they're coming back. So I think it's going to be super interesting to see how Google continues to change and update with their core algo updates and their consistent algorithm updates that they do that are smaller on the more micro side, how they're going to adjust what AI is doing because they know what it is doing. So I think that's going to be something that's going to change the whole dynamic of SERP features and just kind of overall Google experiences in general. And I think that's something we're all very interested to see about.
Yeah, especially because it's just happening in real time.
Exactly.
So when it comes to omni-channel marketing, I know it's often used as a buzzword, but it is really important when it comes to understanding your different target audiences and perhaps doing something for one subset over another. I know that we were on a call before and you were talking about direct mail and some of the different elements that you were doing. So talk to me a little bit about in your business, Brian.
Yeah, I think there's still a place for traditional media and using that omni-channel approach. Again, it's utilizing the data you have available. And that's where I was kind of initially going with that, is to find out what that individual and how they consume their media is how we usually take that approach. We still like the integrated approach. Target them on paid social, target them through local SEO, target them through traditional mail, depending again on the individual, how they consume the media. But that additional frequency coming from other channels, I think just reinforces the brand voice.
How about yourself, Chris? Because I can't drive around Vancouver without seeing your business on a bus.
Yeah, we definitely use the transit system as mobile billboards. So we're not in Las Vegas, but we have mobile billboards. They're just called buses, bus backs. We got the Gorilla campaign, I believe, where we take over the whole entire side of the bus. And so love those. We certainly do a lot of traditional stuff, other just, I would say, fixed billboards, digital ones. We'll do some of those things, stuff transit-wise in terms of bus stops, train stops. We'll do some of that as well. And then, like direct mail when appropriate. Usually if we do direct mail, it's usually we're celebrating something or an offer. So if a club's having a birthday or if we have a new location, that's usually like when we'll use direct mail. That's when we find it to be most effective, which again, I think to Brian's point, that's the data-driven decision. Like when do you get the ROI on this? Because direct mail, at least for us in Canada, it's expensive.
Yes.
It's not cheap. So we're selective on when and how and why and all the rest. But yeah, I think again, where we're certainly consistent on our spend and where the bulk of our budget goes to on a monthly basis is into the space that we're speaking to. It's in the digital space, and then that, where again, people are at and on their mobiles, and, we want to serve people up, the advertisements and the things that they're looking for and the content they're looking for to, lead them to us. Right. So, that's certainly approach, but yeah, we definitely we cast a wide net, and it's varied, right? We're not always doing direct mail. We're not always doing the same. The things that we're always doing is we're always doing digital.
Same. Always on approach with digital. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be nowadays, I think.
Just on the note of special events or things like that, it's the time of year that a lot of players in the fitness industry do things like Teens Free. Obviously, Planet Fitness is really popular with any high school student get to go to the gyms for free. How effective do you feel those types of marketing campaigns can be in regards to getting new people in the door, especially considering Gen Z, like that element is growing so much. And so this will be the next generation coming up and could be lifetime customers.
Well, I don't know they're going to become lifetime customers, but I do appreciate what they're doing in terms of making fitness accessible to as many people as possible. And then, I think just like for most people listening today, probably right back to who we know the audience is for kind of the product that we produce through, yourself and ATFW is, whatever car they're driving now is not what they drove when they were 16. Or when they were 20, or when they were 25, 30, turn 40, whatever, you graduate through stages of life. So I think someone getting involved in fitness at an early age is phenomenal. So if you can build those habits, that lifestyle, whatever, that's incredible. And I would certainly advocate for that. But I do think people over time will, it's not to say that they're not going to become a lifetime customer of any kind of facility that runs like a summer program for free for youth or whatever. But I do think people will migrate and graduate, to kind of fit their specific fitness needs over time in terms of what's going to best, serve them. So if I got a family and I'm looking to spend time with my family at a facility and a pool, well, the facility is going to need a pool, right? Like that's going to be a requirement. And a lot of these clubs that we talk about that offer these summer programs for free, I would tell you right now, there's no summer program for like a pool for kids. There's no swim lessons. There's not a lifeguard on duty. So I got to go somewhere to find that, right? And so what facility offers that? Well, there's lots of options, right? And that's where I think people will, as they evolve and kind of morph and grow through life, their needs change, right? But hey, I welcome anything that gets more people moving, and it gets more people kind of doing that. And again, I think the other angle I would just talk about is the mental health for kids. So I think there's no secret, and the data is out that just how challenging the last several years have been for that, segment of the population. And certainly, I have a couple of kids that fall into it, right? My daughter graduates from college this weekend. We're doing her big ceremony, but she didn't get a high school graduation, right? Because it was taken away. And so I think even for them, when you think about just getting more people moving, and it's not just the physical benefits, it's the mental benefits, and then back to doom scrolling and all the rest. Like the more that we can get people moving and not staring at their phone all day, I think the better that the world's going to be.
Not staring at their phone unless they're looking at your advertisements. because that's part of the goal.
Well, they're gonna see it on their way.
Amongst the doom scroll.
They're gonna have their backpack on. They're gonna take transit to the mountain. That's where they're gonna see it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or they're on their phone while they're going for a walk.
While they're eating
Right?
pizza because it's leg day.
Yeah,
In
trust
between
me,
sets, eating pizza.
You're all
doom
going to
scrolling.
try it, and then you're going to recognize that you've been able to add more weight to the bar after your pizza power. Mark my words.
Haven't done a leg day since college soccer, so I'm not going to try it. at
Well,
40.
if you do
Yeah,
get
no,
life
thank you.
insurance, because you're 40 now, so.
I have good life insurance. But
It's a good thing that the counter is covering your legs because people could have come to that conclusion
yeah, but
on their own.
that's a good point. Yep. Yeah, it's not hard to tell. To that point, wow, that's a really interesting take on the question around how to sort of create the lifetime value of a new member. Quite honestly, I think you're spot on. And I'm not obviously an insider like Chris is and live and breathe fitness on a daily basis, although I enjoy it thoroughly and I love the industry and I love supporting it as much as we can. But I got to tell you, when it's January 3rd and I'm, 10 years ago at a club working out and I see all these new faces show up taking my equipment and causing me to have to work out longer because nothing's available and then they go away in 3 months, that's a very frustrating experience for me as a loyal member to that club. I'll also say that as my life has evolved, those priorities have changed. I used to hate taking classes. I used to think that they weren't for me. I was too good for fitness classes and I was just going to do my own workout. And now I live for fitness classes because I can get in, I can get out. I don't have to think about my workout. It's already prepared for me. It's the most efficient workout for me today. And it changed where I actually have become a member. So I do think that you're spot on in the sense of get more people moving, get more people into the gyms as we can throughout these summer months. But don't forget about your current loyal members that you could be causing some frustrations for because they now can't have the normal experience that they had pre-summer workouts for free.
When it comes to digital marketing, are you not sure what to do or how to do it? Partner with AmericanEagle.com to drive real results for your business through SEO, social media, email marketing strategy, and more. Contact AmericanEagle.com today to get started. So we kind of round out our conversation here, Brian, being from more the hospitality side of the industry, what would be some key takeaways from the SEO and social media perspective that you feel could be beneficial for the fitness industry to drive home today?
Utilizing the data, as we've mentioned. I think Chris has already informed us, he's very on it with the relevancy of the content that's going out. Again, always educating or entertaining through the social content that we're doing. Look to Tony's point, loyalty. How do we build upon loyalty? Again, we have a loyalty app that we then incentivize to double points or they give rewards. Is that something that can be utilized in the fitness space? More of a loyalty play. And then that ease of use. How to make this the easiest transition, if it's providing answers to questions through messenger AI bots to virtual classes online. But again, we want to be in the place that makes it easiest for someone to consume whatever our platform is, and that being through, again, online.
And Chris, you kind of touched on it percentage-wise in the beginning, but how important is that marketing spend? Because I think you and I had a conversation offline not too long ago, and you spoke to how some don't prioritize it at all or just don't want that money to part the hand. So talk to me about making those investments and what the ROI is and how important that ROI is.
I don't want to sound overly confident, narcissistic, or psychopathic, but my business is doing incredibly well. We've been doing well for a while now. People, then they say, well, why or how? And then it's like, some of it is like, well, we have a very specific kind of approach to marketing. And again, I think I shared earlier, like the complexity of it, the complexity of this conversation, and we're kind of flying over it, really probably 30,000, maybe we've dipped down to 20,000 feet. But to have subject matter experts like, Alex and Tony and everyone like on your team is critical, in my opinion, if you want to grow your business. And if you say, well, I don't want to grow my business, but I want to maintain my market share, same conversation. I'd say even if that's the business case that you're in, then you should definitely be thinking about how do I continue to build loyalty and build brand awareness and all those types of things. And so for me, I think that that's always kind of been their approach. And that's certainly, again, we made certainly a strategic shift as a business. And I think required me to change some of my, what I would call legacy belief systems, right? But again, I think just due to the complexity and the pace and the speed of change, it requires that. And again, that's why I think finding the right partner makes a ton of sense, right? In terms of who can help best guide my business. And again, for me, it's always been about finding partners that's what they understand, right? I'm not a client, you're not the vendor, like you're partners in my business. Like we're in this together, right? And so we handle adversity together. We celebrate the good times together, all the wins, but we're accountable to the losses to say, okay, what went wrong and what do we need to do different? How do we change that? And so, I guess that's how I'd answer that.
Yeah, and when it comes to building world-class marketing teams, how is it for yourselves? Do you advise? Obviously, you would be an external partner, but how beneficial is there to be a boots-on-the-ground internal team that you get to work with?
I would say it's absolutely critical to the success of the longevity of the partnership, because the boots on the ground, the Hannahs of the world, Brunas, they are in the clubs, they are in the markets, they know exactly what's going well and where there's opportunity for improvement. And then being able to relay that information to us, whether it's just verbally or through assets, will help impact the success that we have in our sort of digital strategy. I think, speaking of assets, I would say that if there's a couple of key takeaways from today, get out there and start getting as much video content as you can. Start putting it into a library, start categorizing it, segmenting it, and have it readily available for your team internally, your agency. Call us if you need help, whatever the case may be, because that is going to improve your entire sort of strategy on both social media, on your website, on Google Business Listing, on everything that we talked about today. Video content is going to continue to evolve and be really, really important. The second is making sure that you are taking advantage of that content strategy and leveraging it in a way that is adhering to what Google's changes have been. This new AI snippet, like I had mentioned earlier briefly, is really impacting search results. And if you're not rewriting content to address the way that these bots are essentially crawling the content, then you're going to miss out.
When they're rewriting, because we didn't quite dive in, but what specifically are you looking to change in there? What are they crawling for?
What they're crawling for is up-to-date information about anything. So if let's say you published an article last year and there was a study from 2020, is there one from 2021, 2022? Are we changing anything about, if we're talking about weather, if we're talking about pizza, did we add more spices to our pizza? Did we add more equipment to our gym? Those type of things. So any little change in the sense of updating what the consumer is going to see there on the page, what they're looking for is what Google is looking for. So it's not just one word change, but it's got to be a content change in the sense of, hey, this is something additional or this is something new that we previously did not have within this content. That is what's going to help you. The crazy thing about Google is you could change words from top to best and sometimes be in the featured snippet, but that's not going to put you in the number one forever. So you have to make sure your content is quality and new and fresh as much as possible. Also, plugging dates is super important. So if you don't have dates on your content, make sure you put them on there, as well as author. Author bios are extremely important. The more credibility you have, the better it's going to be. So having author pages and stuff like that. So the more you can update those things, the more you can keep those fresh, the best it's going to be.
Brilliant. Do you have any final takeaway? Because I threw that one on you, but I'm sure you had something cooking there.
I just wanted to add one more thing to that. Have it written in like human language. Have it written in a language that answers a question. Think about how you talk to Siri or talk to Alexa or Google when you do voice text, and write your responses, write your content in that format.
You mean you don't always say delve landscape? It's like those AI copy revolutionizing comes to mind. It's constantly like immediately you're like, AI wrote this.
Exactly.
Emojis everywhere. Yeah. It's a lot of that.
Yeah, but I think addressing content from a voice text, perspective is going to be really important too. More and more people are using it.
Brilliant. Well, we covered a lot of bases here today. I thank you so much for having such a well-rounded panel. So if there's one message we have, eat pizza and work out.
There you go.
I like it.
I like it.
This episode of MarketFit by ATFW was brought to you by AmericanEagle.com. Discover how AmericanEagle.com's web development and digital marketing services have been the ultimate game changer for leading brands in the fitness industry. Looking to drive more revenue? Contact AmericanEagle.com today.